Before starting this event, let me take this opportunity to introduce the motive behind conducting High9 talks. Let us all go through some statistics about digital health and internet usage. In the next 2 years, we are going to see more than 500 million internet users in India. And thanks to our Modi government for their Digital India initiative to connect people even from rural areas. Recent survey by Via Media on digital health content and communication found out that 49% of internet users will use digital media for healthcare information. So High9 took this opportunity to conduct High9 talks for connecting people and doctors on this digital platform. Any query regarding a medical topic of discussion will be answered by our expert panel through this platform. We will build a library of answers to the questions that people generally have in their mind, which will be accessible to all. Video on this website covers topics on different diseases, surgeries, their cost details, and latest technological developments in healthcare sector. All these videos are available on High9 TV and High9.in. In a single line, our vision is to build a healthy India. Doctors are the backbone to build up this vision of ours. High9 took the initiative to pay a tribute to our doctors who are working round the clock. More oxygen and more health. So we would like to present a small twig of life to all our speakers of today's evening. I invite Dr. Uday Krishna Garu onto the stage now and felicitate Dr. Uday Krishna Garu by presenting him a plant. From Dr. Uday Krishna Garu. The stage is all yours, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and my dear colleagues. I have been honored and especially privileged to be a part of keynote program today, delivering talks on mainly the advances in trauma care. I especially thank from my bottom of heart to High9 TV crew and Mr. Shiva especially for making me to come and talk for the keynote today. As the advances in medicine related and surgical related has been a lot of advances in recently. There has been emphasis on mainly on the reconstruction system of the limb, that is mainly of the trauma system. We are going to discuss or show some, I want to throw light on this, what we are going to do in the system, emergency system, to give life to the patient, not only the life as well as a limb back to the patient. Increase in road traffic accidents around a quarter of the century, with more than 4% increase in death rate. It is very worrisome. It is the most common cause of death apart from the cardiac issues, and topmost common cause for road traffic accidents. Nearly 37% of rash driving killing the people. No exceptions, even the doctors who were recently killed in bus accident by rash driving by the bus driver, killing at least 4 our medical college students. Sincerely condolences to their families. We are surprised how the number of accidents has been increasing. The main cause was rash driving, drunken driving, and the problem lies with the government as well as the law system itself. So in this system, right from the century, there has been a lot of advances, what we call limb reconstructions. That means if the patient comes to our ER or casualty department, we try to assess the patient and try to reconstruct whatever the damaged part. Reconstruction means some damaged part has to be reconstructed at least to the normal level. That is called limb reconstruction. We mainly do in the limbs, upper limbs and lower limbs. Some of the children or young people, the shape and function of the foot and feet or length of the limbs may be affected due to congenital condition or trauma. Limb reconstruction services uses some external device or non-removable frames to either to correct the deformities or to hold the deformity in position. Damage, we try to recreate or bring it to normalcy as close as possible. So the principles of construction ladder is mainly to, it's valid to mainly lower extremities, where every attempt we try to make there to match the similar properties and consistencies and functional capabilities of the tissues. Where we do this limb reconstructions, as well, today is the topic of a discussion of road traffic accidents. What are the other reasons for we do limb reconstructions? Especially congenital. Babies are born with some foot deformities who present very late. So it's called congenital condition, where we try to reconstruct the limb with some external device. The second, second condition may be due to infection of the bones. Sometimes we do some operations. If the patient is not chosen well, he may go into infection of the bone. In that case, we do this limb reconstruction technique. Third is most common condition where road traffic accidents we see in and out, where the limb got crushed. We try to bring it to normalcy as position. Fourth is cancer patients, bone cancers, where we try to reconstruct. Previously, it was amputation was the only solution. Now we're trying to reconstruct the bone, or after removing the cancer. The trauma, as I mentioned, is one of the leading cause of death. It is increasing nearly 4% per year, and it is worrisome. And road traffic accidents in India at least kills 2 lakhs per year. With NCRB, National Crime Records Bureau, compared to that WHO, it is more than 46%. Nearly 1 person dies every 4 minutes in road traffic accidents. The report states that Indian safety laws do not meet the best practice requirements, 4 out of 5 risk factors, especially enforcing speed limits, prevention of drunken driving, safety of children, and use of helmets or seat belts. One serious road traffic accidents occur in the country each minute. At least 16 people die every hour. Nearly 214 road crashes occurs every day in India. In Delhi, at least the highest number of road crashes compared to other major cities like London and New York. Two-wheelers account for 25% of road crash deaths, with including collision with lorries. Most worrying thing is at least 20 children under the age of 14 die every day due to road crashes in the country. This is a very, very worrisome. It almost accounts to 377 people die every day, equivalent to a jumbo jet crashing every day. This statistic shows at least 4%, 3 to 4% casualties, deaths, fatal deaths occurring every year, and it has been increasing. UP appears to be a maximum number of deaths, where Tamil Nadu appears to be maximum number of road traffic accidents. But as I mentioned, there is a 37% of accidents is mainly due to the overspeeding of the vehicles. But the paramilitary forces are not even exceptional, where 32% of deaths are due to the paramilitary death are due to road traffic accidents, compared to 7% of the compact terrorism. Next. As we go to the history of orthopedics or the reconstruction system, where it starts with late from father of medicine, Hippocrates, where surgeons can facilitate healing, they can't impose it, because he noticed way back in 500 BC, where tissues and bones have tendency to heal itself. He noticed that. So in that context, he tried to make the wound more dressing comfortable, so that it given time to heal. Late again the Frenchman, Dr. Ambrose Paré and Dissault in 18th century, they started removing the dead tissue. Means whatever the wounded the tissue, either in the war or in the blast injuries, they used to remove the dead tissue. They found surprise that even after removing a lot of bone or some tissues, it started regenerating within 10 days. Later, carbolic acids is an antiseptic solution introduced in the nearly World War I by Lister's. It helped a lot of people to combat infection. Even the famous Dr. Robert Jones and Truta from Spain during the Spanish War started this occlusive dressing, where the wound was packed with a sterile dressing, and dressing were applied. They found it worked very well in World War One. The things have changed from World War One to World War Two, where they've started using antibiotics, where it was introduced at the time. But at the same time, the Vietnam War, the limb which was injured nearly has to be amputated because of the lack of surgical techniques and the lack of personnel and lack of awareness at that time. Whatever the limb got injured is to get amputated in the Vietnamese War. 90% of amputations were seen there. So the changes have slowly occurs from 1960, where Korean War, where there was a reduction in the amputation. The limb was, the surgeon tried to save the limb as maximum as possible. The reduction rate was drastically fallen from 50% to 13% with vascular injury. At that time, slowly the plastic surgery has an intervention. They started repairing the vasculature, where they try to save the limb, where the reconstruction procedure of a vascular surgeon as well as ortho intervention, they have tried to cover the wound with the free flaps. Free flap means if the wound is injured in a leg, they try to transport some other tissues from various other parts of the body. They cover the wound. So new designs of external fixation has come, especially the Ilizaro, where it was started in Russia, have flourished and giving good results. Next. The current recommendation, if the patient comes to an emergency department, what as a clinician or orthopedic surgeons do is ALTS, Advanced Life Trauma Support. First, basically we see for whether the life of the patient, how is the condition. So we have certain guidelines to see, that is ABC, it is called airway, breathing and circulation. Then we'll try to immobilize the limb, the injured part, and apply some sterile dressing to the wound. If we perform a lot of contamination, means lot of infection in the wound, we'll try to take him to the OR, operation theatre, immediately, and try to debride the wound and do an irrigation, clean the wound. If required, we'll take him back after a couple of days. Again, we'll try to do a dressing and debridement. Next. Main principles of management, it lies on diagnosis. What type of injury it is? Is it a high velocity injury or low velocity injury? Nowadays, even my colleagues usually they deal with the routine high velocity injuries, where even the crush injuries of the legs, upper limbs, lower limbs, hips. So the diagnosis is very important in initial management. So diagnosis as a whole, not only the limbs part, your head injury, chest injury, other vital organs should be examined. And we always find out the mechanism of injury, whether road traffic accident or a fallen from height or a home injury or anything will give some clue for treatment. We assess with radiological findings and we find with associated injuries, because life saving is very important further next to come to limb saving. So we'll see other limb as a secondary procedure compared to other vital organs. If any injury to the liver, spleen, heart, we'll look for that, and in a head injury, then we'll go for the orthopedic part of it. We classify injuries according to our management, then we'll go for treatment. These are some of my cases. Some pictures may be disturbing. The first case, where if you see on the left-hand side, it is a very minor injury with an open wound of the leg. He came with a road traffic accident 12 hours before we are looking him. There is a little amount of open injury in the knee joint. We immediately assessed the wound, and accordingly we have treated it. The second injury on the top right-hand side, there is a more severe form where bone is got exposed in a road traffic accident, and he came within 24 hours to our department. The third one is the most severe form. He was dragged down by the truck to 100 meters. His arm and limb is severely crushed. So the limb reconstructions have evolutionized recently over a decade. initially, if you see this injuries, the people, the main thing is coming to the mind. So the diagnosis is very important, and we have certain scoring system. If that scoring system, if the patient falls in that scoring system, definitely this limb can be salvageable compared to amputation. So the orthopedicians have a lot of challenge where to amputation to or versus salvage. Salvage means to save the limb. So indications, before indications, we score the limb. What type of scoring means if the limb has been injured in what score? There are certain scores there. That is different scores we use by different surgeons. We use first top one, Ganga Orthopedic scoring system. Usually we assess skin, soft tissues, inside the then bones, nerves, and age. According to the timing of the bone injury or soft tissue injury, it makes very important in making decision here. The patient with a severe score means it indicates that even if you try to salvage the limb, even if you try to protect the limb, it is not going to work. Anyway, it's going for amputation. But if the patient comes very early with less amount of soft tissue damage or contamination, then we'll try to save the limb, and if the score falls within the a certain mark. Next. At present day, the patient comes, we attend immediately, we stabilize the fracture. If we assess for mainly vascular injury, if any, we have all hospitals have 24 hours of service of vascular surgeons available. We look for a vascular injury, and we assess the wound and will plan accordingly. Later, extensive procedure to stabilize the limb and bone and tissue transfers if required depending upon the injury. Then we'll go for rehabilitation. That is the final stage after the surgery. The most worrying part is nowadays out of at least 10% of cases with the road traffic accidents, they come very late because it has been occurred outside. The patient has attended here with a lot of contamination and unrepairable vascular surgery. Even if we try to repair, the patient, because of the infection or other general condition is poor, if it is not going to success, we are not going to do any surgery for that patient. We go rightly advise for the removing of the leg. It should not cost the patient life at the cost of the limb. And one more indication is major nerve damage. Next. This is a case one, what I have shown here. He came, a 30 years old gentleman, he came to the casualty with head injury. Head injury was minimal, so we immediately take him to the OR department, and we cleaned the wound. We put some, if you see that X-ray here, there is a lot of fracture there in the bone. We put some fixators immediately. We cleaned the wound, cleaned all the infection. 3 weeks later, we removed all the rods, whatever he kept in the first day, and we discharged him. He's doing well. Second case, as I've shown you, this is a very severe form of injury. The bone came out when he was driving, hit by an auto. He came around 12 hours to the casualty. We immediately assessed as a patient as a whole. He checked his abdomen, head injury, no, nothing is there. He's only suffering with the leg injury. We immediately taken to the OR clinic. We have taken X-rays. We have shown lot of bone has been fractured and dislocated. And we had a doubt of vascular injury. As my colleagues are anyway working in a super specialty, we utilize this angiogram where it shows the vascularity is present or not. Sometimes we miss the vascular injury. If you miss even if you repair the bones, he'll lose his limb. So if you see that that vessel, the posterior vessel, it is going down. That is a dye showing that there is no vascular injury. Then we confirmed it by that angiogram test. Then we gone ahead and fix temporarily with the fixator with some rods and some screws temporarily until all infections have drained. After 3 weeks later, we fix with the definitive fixation. Patient is doing well. He's gone home now. Third is most challenging case. He's a 22-year-old male. and he had diagnosed outside already a vascular injury. The bones have been shattered there. Is hit by a lorry. The bones are not only shattered, it is pressing the vascular near femoral artery. It is called femoral artery, and he came less than 6 hours. We took him immediately to the ER emergency OT. We diagnosed with an angiogram in the top left side of the thing. There is definitely a discontinuity of the angiogram film showing that there is no supply of blood to that limb. So on opening that, we found that there is a thrombose. Thrombose means the patient, the vascular part has been clot there. We asked for assistance for the vascular surgeon. We removed the clot and put a bypass graft there. Then we got for fixation, and patient is doing well. After 3 weeks, he is walking now. The fourth case is, as I shown, is a severe form road traffic accident. Again, these road traffic accidents are usually what we notice between 11 to 5 in the working hours, and especially less than 30 years are more prone for road traffic accidents, mainly because maybe of drunken driving as well as maybe high speeding injuries. So this case, the elbow has been shattered, all his nerves, vessels, everything is gone. We explained the patient the difficult for saving the limb, but we tried our level best. We tried to reconstruct the limb thoroughly. It took nearly 20 hours for ourselves and vascular surgeon to repair all the things and came to shape. So temporarily we fixed with the fixator, and we reconstructed the limb with some muscle flaps or free flaps, what you call we took the other supporting tissue from other side of the body and kept in place because there is a lot of tissue loss there. So finally, the decision of limb salvage means saving the limb techniques is tempered on realistic assessment of the patient as a whole. Protracted limb salvage attempts might destroy patient physically, psychologically, and socially, financially, with adverse consequence of patient family as well. Next. What our aim of a treating surgeon is always to determine whether limb is feasible or not. Because as I said, the scoring system is very high where we can't save the limb. We'll definitely are not going to attempt to save that, because at the end of the day, if you give a limb which is not sensation, nothing else, useless limb, there's no point in keeping. You'll be never happy with that. Sometimes well-fitted processes after the amputation is better and than poorly functional limb. As I said, the poor prognosis, what we assess is immediately after the injury, if he comes, we can try to save the limb. If he comes late, more than 6 hours to 24 hours, definitely there is no chance. With massive crush injuries, high energy injuries, severely comminuted or segmental fractures, major arterial injuries, high above, prolonged shock, age, more than 50, other risk factors, diabetic or immunocompromised, other is suffering with the cardiac ailments or renal problems, who can't sustain a long hours of surgery, it's better go for amputation rather than limb saving. At the end of the day, it's highly individualized surgeons. We are 4 of them, we might have different opinions, but at the end of the day, it's very difficult to judge because each injury is different from other. It's impossible to quantitate. Next. The other causes of limb reconstruction, apart from the road traffic accidents, are mainly for the cancer of the bones, where this 15 years old girl came with 45 days old swelling of the leg. It is a very fast growing cancer. Luckily, we try to diagnose early. That MRI shows there is a huge bone cancer there. So we examined her with all the other organs. Everything is wet. There is no spread of cancer. We took an oncologist opinion. We started with chemotherapy drugs, and we removed that tumor bone part, and we reconstructed with the artificial processes. She's only 15 years, but she's doing well now. Next. The other case, what they mentioned in the AV, this case is a 42 years old male, quadriparesis. Quadriparesis means all the four limbs are affected. He can't walk, he can't hold, he can't eat. There are, at least from 40 years, there are two persons assisting him to normal activities as well. Unfortunately, he sustained an injury 4 to 5 years back. He had 8 centimeters of shortening there, with the limbs completely flexed, because the cerebral palsy is a neuromuscular disorder. It has a dynamic spasticity. There is a spasticity of the legs. Last time, at least 6 surgeries were done on him, all failed. So he's suffering with severe pain, daily crying. We have seen there is a lot of marks on the hips there, with showing for the pain relief. He has taken native treatment outside, everything failed. He came to us, very poor family. We have suggested surgery, though it is a lot of risk involved in whatever do the surgery, it's going to fail, because we offered him for the hip replacement, because his X-ray shows the cup is completely damaged right from the birth, because there is no cup properly developed there. And whatever you do surgeries on around the hip, it's going to come out. Why? Because there is no proper acetabulum, or what you call cup. There is no ball there to hold that one, but the patient is on pain. So we planned very well. Even with the 50 degrees of FFD, we tried to reconstruct and done the surgery. Now patient is standing now, at least with a pain-free hip. Next. Finally, we want to reach everyone to reach home safely. I follow defensive driving. What it is called? It is called respect the right way of to everyone. Do not exceed speed limit. Pay attention to the road. Always remember to wear seatbelt or helmet. Do not drive when you are unwell or stressed. Slow down on the wet roads or bad weather. Know your blind spots, and most important, as we've seen in a lot of signboards, don't mix drinks and drive. Next. At the end of the day, someone is waiting at home. Next. Thank you.
Now moving on to the introduction of our other panel members, I would like to start with introducing Dr. Neelam Ramana Reddy Garu. And I also call upon Mr. Shiva Garu to felicitate him by presenting him the plant. Next, I would like to introduce Dr. Jalapati Reddy Mandala Garu to felicitate him by presenting him the plant. Finally, I find it my pleasure to introduce respected Dr. Timma Reddy Garu onto the stage to grace his chair. And once again, invite Mr. Shiva Garu to felicitate him by presenting him a plant. Let us all join our hands together and give them a huge round of applause. Now let us start with the core of this event. That is the questionnaire session. We have a list of questions which we would like to discuss and find answers for. The first question I would like to ask Dr. Timma Reddy Garu. Most of the people aged above 50 face problems related to knee pain. What are the reasons with increasing joint problems in present days?
Shiva and High9 Group and distinguished guests who are spending crucial time, indoor park cricket match is going on. Thank you for coming and spending time here, and all the viewers of High HI9. So commonly now in our practice we see the patients with the knee pain in early age group nowadays, and I find the most of the common reason for this is the lack of physical exercise, one, and leads to some muscle imbalance and the mal-tracking of the patella, that is kneecap bone. That's the main reason I find. And second thing is lack of good nutrition, that is osteoporosis, another reason. What I find in city group of patients, because of stress and especially in driving, that would be the main reason for the knee pain.
Yes.
And Fourth most is then coming to the primary osteoarthritis of the knee. See, nowadays because of the lack of physical exercise and lack of less intake of calcium and vitamin D deficiency, because we never exposed to the sunshine nowadays,
Yes.
so leads to weak bones and leads to the decreased support to the cartilage tissue, leads to early arthritis. So that may be the reason for the early arthritis.
Thank you, doctor. The next question, Dr. Uday Krishna Garu, is arthritis hereditary?
We classify in different types of arthritis. Usually there are nearly more than 100 type of arthritis. It can affect the human body.
Okay.
But unfortunately 60 types of arthritis affects females.
Okay.
So the osteoarthritis is most common. It's called degenerative arthritis. Means as the age increases, the body tends to wear and tear with the spine, hips, knees, everything. So as the cartilage wounds out, it is called a degenerative arthritis. It's definitely some hereditary element is there,
Okay.
but most common elementary or hereditary type of arthritis, or what we call as rheumatoid arthritis, we see in a younger group where it has an autoimmune disorder. There is some gene in the blood that may suppress the antibody, and it forms own antibodies to the body. So
Okay.
it's going to damage the entire joints in the body. The other types of arthritis where commonly we see in younger males is around less than 30 is called ankylosing spondylitis,
Okay.
where patient comes with a neck stiffness, hips, knees stiffness. So this type of arthritis are definitely has genetic or autoimmune problems.
Thank you so much, doctor. Dr. Jalpati Garu.
Thank you for the organizers.
Thank
So
you.
there are no much side effects while taking the calcium because it's a nutritional supplementation. This is not medicine.
Okay.
So one more thing is only few patients they have to be careful. For example, they have recurrent stones in the kidney. There are different types of stones in the kidney. So not all calcium stones. There are urate stones and different stones. Only less than 5% will be calcium stones.
Okay.
In those patients, they're supposed to go for some blood investigations, serum calcium levels, serum phosphorus, so and the total proteins. If the calcium levels is less than 10, that means hypocalcemia, or if it is normal, so they can take the calcium. If the calcium levels are high, hypercalcemia, in those cases, the calcium is not indicated. So for them, we have to give a vitamin D supplements only. So otherwise, there are no side effects. But few patients will tell that because of when we are taking the calcium, so our bodies weight, we are gaining the weight. It may be because of some absorption of water, or
Okay.
because of the taking medicines, the acidity may be increased because of that take more food and less activity. So that will cause some body weight gaining. But actually the calcium doesn't have any energy to give the body weight.
Okay. So post 30, women can have calcium tablets regularly for
So
for the entire
actually,
lifetime.
for example, on time, taking food you don't become strong. Okay?
Okay.
You need to do the exercise.
Yes.
So there are different stages. For example, from the 0 to around 25-30 years, our bone mass will grow. That's strengthening. That's called maximum peak levels of bone strength. So after that, 0.3% per year we lose the bone strength.
Okay.
So after menopause, what happens? This is 3% per year. So almost 10 times high.
Okay.
So depending on their quality of bone strength, we need to supplement. In the before 30, it's better to take nutritional supplementation. And nowadays, almost I can say that 80 to 90% of the Indians are suffering with vitamin D deficiency. So we need to supplement vitamin D with that very good exercise. So with that, some calcium maybe or may not be. 30 to 50 calcium and vitamin D is necessary for the most of the Indians. So after 60, most of them are osteoporotic. They require so more than that. So but one thing is very important is exercise is very important.
Yes, true, doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In fast track, we are trying to do it a little faster recovery process.
Okay.
The surgical technique we use in surgery is something where we use a little less blood. We use a little bit of a smaller incision and we do less tissue damage. So you have less post-operative pain. So surgery is more comfortable afterwards and you don't have to suffer with the pain. We use
Okay.
pain management protocols where which we can have get out of the bed faster, go to the bathroom faster and get discharged faster also. Earlier days following a standard knee replacement, patients would have to be in the hospital for at least 5 to 6 days. Now with the fast track methods what we're using, patients can get off the home after 2 to 3 days. Maximum day by the second day evening or the third day morning they are home. They have
Okay.
much less pain in the recovery process and they're able to rehabilitate faster and walk without a stick by around 10 to 12 days.
Oh.
The cost involved is nothing extra or different from compared to a standard knee replacement. And it's only the methodology that is different and it entails a faster recovery.
Okay. Thank you so much, doctor.
System,
Okay.
but only few patients who have deformities in the thigh and leg. For those patients, we cannot operate in a regular way.
Okay.
So in those cases, it's very, very important. So regular knees, it will give only 5% of extra mileage, but few cases we need a GPS navigation to operate.
Thank you so much, doctor. I mean, is
Yep.
this surgery suitable for all kinds of patients, or what are the reasons for it?
At the end of the day, what my personal opinion is patient selection is important.
Okay.
Because an obese patient whose BMI more than 30-35, MIS or minimal invasive surgery is a little bit difficult because a retraction of the tissues in and around it could be very difficult. And severely deformed bones who has arthritis has been long time, 5 years, 10 years, who's have a lot of bow legs, very difficult. In that case, it requires an extensive release of the tissues there. So in that
Okay.
situation, we can't do an MIS technique, MIS minimal invasive surgery. The patient selections is always important. What is his pre-activity level? What does he do? He goes to the office, still is working, he's a businessman. Depending upon his requirement, will suggest type of thing. And body weight, what you call BMI is very important in place of selection of MIS to conventional thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, doctor.
iAssist also is a type of a navigation system,
Okay.
like Dr. Jalpati also told you. Each one has their pros and cons, but as we mentioned, these systems of iAssist, which is a navigation procedure, which is aided in knee replacement, only in the few, let us say 1% of surgeries we need to use them.
Okay.
99% of the surgeries we can go ahead with the conventional surgery and achieve reasonable results also. But in certain cases where the deformities are more severe and we cannot use this conventional technique, in these cases we can use the iAssist navigation system.
Okay. Is it affordable?
Obviously, these navigation systems entail a cost that is added to the surgery, and easily
Okay.
at least 20 to 30,000 more is the cost involved. But when we cannot do the surgery without it, it's only then that we use these techniques.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, doctor. Dr. Uday Garu, what is cosmetic limb lengthening, and what age group people can undergo this lengthening procedure?
Yeah, cosmetic limb lengthening, I think cosmetic is a term, is a misnomer. There is no, patients they come directly with the cosmetic thing. Because
Okay.
these limb lengthening techniques have been evolved over years, more than 30 years now, right from Russia has been, the Russians have been doing a lot of things with this limb lengthening technique with Elizero frame, what we call Elizero frame.
Okay.
Here, usually started with the congenital defects. Usually, some children have limb lengthening discrepancies. In that situation, we use these frames to lengthen to normal. Very few have a notion of getting more height. Especially for youngsters who want more height. Maybe a social or other stigma to become shorter. More, to look more longer one. I mean to look
Tall.
more height, tall. They opt for this cosmetic limb lengthening. In that situation, we carefully counsel the patient because the patient selection is very important here. What he requires, why he requires, whether can he do a proper physiotherapy later, because it requires at least a 6 to 8 months period to undergo all the procedure of the limb lengthening technique.
Okay.
So the patient selection is very, very important here. If he is non-compliance patient, he doesn't obey to the physiotherapy, then these results goes to failure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And continuing the same question to Dr. Thimma Reddy Garu, are there any risk associated with limb lengthening?
Yeah, definitely. So this is not a simple surgery first.
Okay.
So here the cosmetic means not for short stature people, but these
Okay.
are the indicated surgeries for only dwarf for short stature,
Okay.
not because of some amount of suppose I have got only 1 feet less, so don't go for surgery.
Okay,
So
okay.
these are indicated for special people, so mainly for dwarfs. So definitely these are associated with complications, and this is a complex surgery. And one of the most common complication, dreadful complication is vascular injury,
Okay.
leading to loss of limb and nerve injuries sometimes. And moreover, this is associated with psychosocial problems. Actually, rings, application of rings,
Yes.
all those things. So it is not easy. So you have to prepare mentally for that before that.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Dr. Uday Garu, what is LON innovation for limb lengthening, and what is the cost of the surgery?
LON means lengthening or nail. It's a form of limb lengthening.
Okay.
Usually, as era of 1970s, where as I mentioned, the Elizero ring was around the leg. So the Elizero rings, it corrects three-dimensional deformity over the legs to lengthen the bone. But as last decade, we have seen this LON, lengthening over nails, means we put a nail inside the bone to lengthen,
Okay.
plus we put a ring outside. So what happens is within 2 to 3 months, when the bones start to form around thing, we try to remove the fixator outside. So the patient can be mobilized very fast. So it has an advantage. As my colleague Dr. Thimma has mentioned, it has its own complications. Here, patient selection again is very important. Compliance and post physiotherapy is very important for these cases. The cost it depends upon the hospital thing. It doesn't cost much, but the realistic thing is we do only very few number per year. It's only only 1 to 5 cases per year, because it costs around the same cost as the knee replacement.
Okay. Thank you so much, Doctor. Personalized knee replacement, and who are the candidates for this type of knee replacement?
Personalized replacement is a technique where actually this is like anybody can undergo this procedure. It's only in the severe deformity cases we don't do it. So what we do is before surgery we actually do a CT scan or an MRI of the limb and the whole limb axis actually. Send this information to the parent company where the manufacturing of the equipment is done. Means
Okay.
whenever we are doing a knee replacement surgery, we are using a cutting instruments and methodologies that follow a protocol. In this instrumentation, we try to use the preformed instruments which they send us from abroad, and those instruments we use for doing this knee surgery. So in terms that these personalized equipments come with your name and tag, and they can be only used for you, and after you use them, they're obviously given back to the patient. It is not something that should be done on a routine basis, but there are still a lot of studies going on, and then nobody has been able to prove that this method has been far more superior than the standard methods. So it will be some time before we really adopt this to a routine protocol.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for the answer. Dr. Jalpati Reddy Garu, I think that's a continuation to the same question. What is patient-specific instrumentation?
So, same question
I think
again
so.
and again. Okay, so what Dr. Ramana Reddy sir said is correct. So the practical problem with that is it takes 6 weeks to get the instrumentation back.
Okay.
First we have to take the MR or CT, then we send to the parent company what sir said. So for that it takes 6 weeks. Okay, if the patient doesn't use that equipment, it's waste of money and all. So it's practically, or it's not may not be possible every time. So only less than 1% of the surgeries we are doing the specific instrumentation.
Okay. Thank you so much, Doctor. Dr. Thimma Reddy Garu, is it possible to sit on the floor, stretch and squat after knee replacement surgery?
So ideally, we should not advise squatting and cross-legging, but some people they do advocate because of innovation of high flexionists nowadays. They can do yoga also. So because the people like in Japan, they need to cross-leg and squat. But practically speaking, if you squat or cross-leg, there will be load on the implants.
Yes.
There is a high chance of loosening and early revision. So practically it's possible, but we should not advise.
How about the athletes then?
Athletes only hip replacements we do. We can send them for the contact sports, especially in younger patients. But knee replacement people, we generally avoid this high contact sports, and they can swim and brisk walking, all those things they can do. But vigorous activities generally we don't advise.
Okay, thank you so much, doctor. This is a general question to all of you. Survey says that joint replacement surgery success rate is 95 to 97%. So does it mean that 5 out of 100 surgeries are not successful, which is not a good sign? Is this right? If so, what are the reasons for it?
Not really. This actually speaking, the joint replacement surgery is really very challenging surgery, but they're very rewarding actually.
Okay.
Very rewarding surgery. The patient who is not able to walk a few steps or not able to perform their daily activities, they do very well, excellently. So this is very rewarding surgery, but few complications. Any surgery without complications.
Yes,
Okay.
true.
So,
true.
so there are few complications. That means it's not failed. So there are inherent complications like infection, loosening, and all those things will be there. But definitely it is a rewarding surgery. Definitely it is a successful surgery in nowadays.
Thank you, doctor. Dr. Uday Garu, what are the reasons for knee revision surgery?
It's a bit complex thing because most dreadful complication for the knee revision is nowadays is infection, because if the patient the preoperative selection, if the patient has uncontrolled diabetes, is morbidly obese, he's having another risk factors like any other breathing disorders, or he is an immunocompromised patient,
Okay.
we'll try to avoid those type of patients, because when his general condition improves, then we'll take up. Because as my colleague has said, the knee replacement after the bypass surgery is the most successful surgery now. Over the era, more than 25 to 30 years, it has a track record. And under the best surgeons, under best techniques now, advanced techniques, the failure rate is less than 1%.
Okay.
Even
that's
the
good.
infection as well as other complications of knee replacement is less than 1% now. Why?
Okay.
Because the training level has been improved a lot. Good training centers have come, and good surgeons are coming out the training. We have seen a lot of complications 10 years back now. Now it has been reduced. It is less than 1%.
Thank you,
Thank
doctor.
you.
So that means we have to correct our or update our statistics from 95 to 97% to 99%. Thank you, doctor. Dr. Neelam Garu, is physiotherapy a compulsion post knee replacement surgery, even for the advanced techniques?
Any surgery requires a rehabilitation process for you to get back to a normal recovery.
Okay.
It is, I think, overestimated in terms that we have to concentrate so much on physiotherapy. But even in India, we have physiotherapists going home after surgery to do physiotherapy, but this is not often possible abroad where the costs are much higher. We
Okay.
often can achieve even similar results as long as we educate our patients on what to do after surgery. Simple exercises which they can do for, let us say, 10 to 15 minutes twice a day, and simple walking also which they do will also give you the same results. Maybe you might be delayed in a week or two, but it's not, physiotherapy is very important, but it's not mandatory that you have to get it done with a therapist. Even if patients, we can teach them, a lot of people get it done. Now with the present techniques that we do surgery, where you finish the surgery much faster and the blood loss is less, the patients obviously feel much better after surgery and they can go back and do their own exercises also. But since we normally send physiotherapists, they do it for at least 15 days. And after that, patients are taught to do the exercises themselves. Walking, exercises, they do themselves. It's only the therapist goes for, let's say, maximum 15 days or 20 days.
Okay. Thank you so much, doctor. Dr. Timma Reddy Garu, apart from accidents, what are the reasons for hip replacement surgery at the early age?
So, actually, hip arthritis and following that, the hip replacements are common in Western population, but in our country, the primary osteoarthritis of the hip is very rare.
Okay.
Either trauma, as you said, it is correct. So, complications of suppose fracture neck of femur, hip fractures, and that is the one of the reason for the early arthritis and leads to hip replacement. And another common cause is avascular necrosis, where the blood
Okay.
supply to the head of the femur will be reduced. The causes may be alcoholism or smoking, and sometimes especially steroid intake. So most of the
Okay.
general physicians, they do advise steroids regularly. That would be the reason, another main reason for early AVN and leads to hip replacement. Another reason, sometimes blood dyscrasias and some like thalassemias, sickle cell anemias. These are the reasons for early hip replacement.
Thank you
in
so
our
much,
country.
doctor. We used to think, I think only alcohol can damage your liver and smoking can damage your lungs, but I think now these two can even lead you to hip replacement also. Thank you, doctor. Dr. Jalapati Reddy garu, are baby bowed legs is a concern? Is it a serious thing?
So not always. Most of the times it appears 2 to 4 years. That's called physiological genovarum or valgum.
Okay.
So it slowly corrects. If it's not corrected or it's gradually increasing, then we have to take X-ray and measure the angles, how much it is increasing. If it increases, then we need to intervene and we have to operate. So most of the
Okay.
time we don't require that.
Okay. Another question to you, doctor. What are the reasons for shoulder replacement? And is it more complicated to handle than compared to knee replacements?
Yeah, two questions. So one is reasons. Almost all the joints, the reasons are same, but one is first and one is second. So most of the time, rheumatoid arthritis are post-trauma because of fracture, which is goes into osteonecrosis. What Dr. Thimareddy said. So otherwise, most of the time, gouty arthritis. So in these cases, we need shoulder replacement. It's not complicated, but the shoulder replacements are very rare in India. The exposure will
Okay.
be less. Because of that, only few persons will do that.
Okay.
The only exposure, not the complicated.
Okay. Thank you so much, doctor. Dr. Uday Krishna garu, what is vibration therapy and how does it helps bone density?
Yeah, it's a form of a machine where usually in US it started 10 years back where the old ladies or osteoporotic ladies used to stand on that machine. The machine used to vibrate, on either side or upside down. So there was a lot of studies there whether it improves the bone density or mass.
Okay.
The result shows nothing because the
Okay.
vibration therapy for the older individual, especially if you're female, it doesn't have any impact or increase in density compared to other older people who doesn't have any treatment with the vibration therapy. Second thing is these therapies definitely have some role in neurological disorder. Means if any neuro-related, the patient had stroke, he was recovering, he need to develop some muscle mass. So to develop his muscle strength, though these types of vibration therapy could help with even some Parkinson's have been noted now.
Okay.
So scientifically, developing this mass is especially for post-trauma cases is more helpful than osteoporosis.
Okay. Is this machine that is for vibration therapy available in all the hospitals in India?
Yeah, some physiotherapist has, but we don't have in our hospital as my
Okay.
thing. Some physiotherapist has vibration and some setups have been come out with especially with the
Okay.
vibration therapy.
Okay.
But the patient selection is very important here.
Okay. Thank you
Thank
so much, doctor. Dr. Neelam garu, how does stem cell therapy treats arthritis? Is it possible?
Stem cells are still in the trial stage of treatment options
Okay.
for knee arthritis.
Okay.
But they have been used really actually for younger population where you are following sports injuries, you have arthritis where the cartilage is totally damaged on both ends. But let us say you have a 10-20% cartilage, let's say a 25 paisa coin size cartilage defect. In these areas, we can actually take stem cells, either cultured from them or from outside these things. We can put them into a gel-like substance and inject into the knee. So at present form, stem cells are useful in cartilage regeneration for, for early lesions for younger population.
Okay.
For patients who have knee arthritis who would require knee replacement, I think it's a long time before we actually use stem cells for these patients. There are certain groups who have been trying stem cell injections into an arthritic stage 4 knee, but they're not useful. As of now, knee replacement is the only solution, and stem cells have no role in a stage 4 arthritic knee.
So that means stem cell therapy is replacement for joint replacement surgery in future?
We don't know how things go about, but right now it is not an option.
Okay.
We still think that's only, I mean, stem cells are only there in knee arthritis, it's only in a very early stage. So some people have chondral defects, means cartilage defects. For them, we can try to do it arthroscopically. It's not a simple injection, but it is a surgery itself.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Doctor. Dr. Jalpati Reddy Garu. Recently, we have heard something called as laser acupuncture. So, is it a kind of alternate surgery?
So, I'm also listening first time. There are when there is a problem, chronic problems, long-term problems are there. Patients are intended to go to different quacks and different modalities of treatment, and they'll come back
Okay.
to the mother department. So, like arthritis. So, 2006. So one mission was there, electromagnetic mission in SR Nagar or somewhere. All the VIPs used to go for the knee pain.
Okay.
So now there is no mission, no doctor.
Okay.
Okay, so these are, so for the chronic pains, so we intend to go, but those are not FDA approved and not, they don't give you any results. That's only temporary measures.
Thank you so much, Doctor. One can undergo to understand the health of the bones, especially in order to avoid osteoporosis in women.
Osteoporosis is generally occurs in females, especially after postmenopausal age group,
Okay.
unless they have associated risks like ovarian surgeries or any endocrinal problems and any chronic disabling diseases. Then only we can suspect some osteoporosis. The thing is, the osteoporosis is by definition is a decreased bone mass. So there are no symptoms in the early stages unless it is established. So only suspicion is important. And if you see the X-ray of the bones, after 70% of the disease is established, then only it can be evident in the X-ray. So X-ray is not showing anything in the initial stages. The only diagnostic tool to diagnose early osteoarthritis in especially high-risk patients and suspicious patients is DEXA. That is the one. And some other modalities, all those, ultrasound scanning, all those not important. DEXA is the mandatory.
So no blood test can detect
No blood test. Usually some biochemical markers are there. We can choose that. But detecting low calcium is very rare. So even the patient is having osteoporosis, calcium levels will be maintained. We can do vitamin D deficiency sometimes. It may give some clue for the diagnosis.
Thank you so much, Doctor. How do you manage to provide these expensive treatments to the patients who visit the government hospitals?
So it is very difficult because in our postgraduate days we used to see so many cases of hip arthritis and all those things, knee arthritis. Every day we see about 200 to 300 OPs. All of those patients not affordable for this joint replacement most of them, and most of the people are laborers where there is a relative contraindication to do
Yes,
that.
yes.
But nowadays the quality of life improved in everywhere. So we have started doing these replacements in Osmania long back about 10 years ago, and arthroscopies. So we thanks to government. So we used to
Okay.
have government aids for these special surgeries, and if they have low socioeconomic status, they provide CM relief fund. And I thank to one of the voluntary organization, that is Helping Hand Foundation. So
Okay.
they are supporting us excellently, and we are doing under their service. We are doing extensive number of joint replacements, and people are happy.
Thank you so much. From all your experiences, where do you feel that there are possibilities to reduce the cost of surgeries? Like what technological developments can be made affordable?
Yeah, this is the easiest surgery in our practice.
Okay.
Joint replacement surgery is the easiest surgery
Okay.
when you compare to other surgeries. The only cost is mainly because of implant purchasing.
Okay.
If the government can reduce the taxes, and if the production starts in India, some of the people are started now, and if they approved by the government, then it is cost will definitely come down.
Okay, that's great. So we request our Modi government to release some funds to engineering the machines here in India itself.
Yeah. So not only coming, the price of getting the hospital is costly. For
Okay.
example, 10 years back, if you're going to a barber, 20 rupees or 10 rupees is the cost of the cutting. Now it's 150 rupees. So if the cost of the implant comes down, it's not going to make any difference in the practicality.
Okay.
So each and everyone has to go for an insurance. So for a good insurance, premium insurance to make affordable. So but trying with other ways will make you hard at the time of surgery.
Discussing. I think joint replacement costs have been same since the last 15 years now. They
Okay,
haven't really
that's,
gone up
that's
also.
good to know.
So let us say how your diesel and all these prices have gone up. If it's remained same, it means it actually has come down.
Thank you, doctor.
Finally, regarding the cost or this implantation, because these instruments or implants are usually imported from other countries. Even the small country like South Korea has a manufacturing unit. It
Okay.
costs around $1 billion to set up a unit. So
Okay.
if that unit sets up automatically, as my colleague has said, even though the cost is not increased, we can still try to reduce some amount of cost to the poor patients we can afford. Because as government is supporting in some amount of this one, still as the number of joints have been increasing now, because of the cost, a lot of people are deferring the surgery because it has been an elective case and they want to defer for a longer period of time. At the end of the day, after a prolonged thing, they may end in complications because of the lot of bone loss and everything. So, right time surgery, it all depends upon the patient affordability as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, doctor. Ask our panel. Anybody, any question related to bones, of course.
This is like a bed and it massages your spine, and now she is very well doing with her legs and other pains as well. I was wondering what is the reason behind it, and there have been lots of positive reviews behind that, and I would like to know your opinion on it.
You see, 10 out of at least 100 patients, if you see, they have relief of spine problem in various ways of treatment. Some may improve with physiotherapy, some may improve with some sort of massage, bed posture, some may go to Kerala. So here, what type of problem in the spine that should be identified? Is it a spasm or a disc problem, disc prolapse, or any bone pathology in there? It depends. See, all can't be treated with because spine is a vast structure, and it depending upon the problem, we can treat it. Because even in the surgical intervention, there is a lot of advances in the spine. Only 1 centimeter incision, they're doing spine surgery now. So it depends upon the problem of the patient. Then this type of massage. Before.
Well, actually, the problem that she was facing was on her knees and of the body, but that massaging cured a lot of things, and well, how spine is related to knee issues. That is my actually.
All are independent processes. See, when you have a degeneration in the spine or age-related wear and tear, that occurs in the knee also to a certain extent. As you become old, these things will happen. Now, any form of massage which is done, it may be Ayurvedic, any massage will improve the blood flow, and you will tend to feel better with that. It's not that it's going to change what is there actually. And quite a few patients also who get all these pains improve without any major therapy also, because it's an ongoing process. Back pain is such a common symptom that you have people from the age of 20 to 60, 100%, somebody would have always, all in that age group would have sometime in their life had back pain. So all these pains are so common that with time these things tend to improve with little exercise, and massage also is a form of therapy which will improve these symptoms also. Well, 90% of them will not improve with them, they will require other things. So the 10% to improve with the bed, attributed to the bed, I think so. But there could be a role of the bed if it's a massage bed or whatever.
Thank you. I do have another question. Medical, intake. So let's say we are talking about knee replacement. Well, how can we avoid that? Can we avoid that with just medicine? And is that recommendable?
Yeah. So the arthritis is different types. Age-related arthritis is called osteoarthritis. This is because of lifestyle. So we squat on the floor, we take more steps, we sit on the floor. To avoid, if you avoid that, there will be less strain on the knee joint and wear and tear will be less. And another one is inflammatory arthritis. In these two types will be there. One is seropositive, one seronegative. But whatever it may be, if you identify in early stage and treat it with medication, so we can prevent the arthritis. Joint pains are not always arthritis. That's called arthralgia. That's pain. If you identify the cause for that at the stage of early stage, and if you treat them, so you can prevent the arthritis. Then you can postpone it, or you can avoid the surgery.
The reason behind that is my father has rheumatic arthritis, that's what they call it, and he used a medicine called methotrexate. or
Methotrexate,
something, right?
yeah.
And they say that it has fatal effect on the liver, and it may cut down the life span as well.
Yeah.
That's why I was trying to know what is the
So that is rheumatoid arthritis. Rheumatic arthritis is different. It will have a problem on the heart. So it will be there in children. This is called rheumatoid arthritis. So that's a methotrexate, yes. But so every 2 months we'll check your liver, blood and bone marrow. So and creatinine levels. So depending on that we'll balance it. So if your disease is going up, we have to increase the dose. If your disease is coming down, the symptoms are coming down, we'll reduce the dose. For example, you have any problem with the liver or bone marrow, we'll switch on the therapy to other medication. So that's not at all a problem, but you have to follow up regularly with your rheumatologist or orthopedic surgeon in every second month. If you have any problem in between, you have to consult the doctor. So you need not to worry about it.
Okay.
It's
So,
a safe, not
yeah.
lethal.
Hmm.
Okay, you can use your knife for the cutting the vegetables, or you can use it for
Killing. I know.
But use it as a vegetable cutter.
Right. So go about an issue. And recently he found another way, that is in Siddha Ayurveda, and he takes metal, that's some kind of medicine made out of metals, and he's taking it. And what he found out was taking metals is very effective than taking methotrexate, and I'm a little bit worried about that. And depending on something which is not scientific. Yeah.
So what is your good name, sir?
Prabhanjan.
Prabhanjan. You had a great research on all medication. Okay, so that's a gold. That's Arya used to use in the rheumatoid arthritis also. Okay, so before this also I have given you some clarification. When you have a chronic problem, so you go around all the medications, and once they fail, so you come back to knee replacement. So just follow your rheumatologist or orthopedic surgeon with this medication, which are proved, and they'll give the good result. Okay, but you feel most of the time this will be cured. For example, typhoid, malaria will be cured. Diabetes and hypertension they won't be cured. Okay, they need medication for lifetime. In similar way, rheumatoid arthritis, it's in the natural course of disease is almost 30 to 35% the disease may go off, and patient will have some pains, so that will be there. In 35% of patients, they will have small pains, you need to continue the medication. And 35% of the patients will have gross deformities, they need to increase the medication high. So we don't know in which group you will come. Okay, so that's why we have to follow the doctor's prescription regularly.
I am Vishnu. My question is on implants. So means I am engineering background, and also I have some done research on the tribology of even joints earlier. So I just have some query regarding like, so there are a lot of advancement that I see from the engineering side. They talk about because self-healing kind of materials which are used in engineering applications. Because if the knee surgery is undergone at our early stages and these implants have certain life limit, is there a way like the implants materials developments have been made that they can self-heal inside itself, so that there will be no need to do any again a revision knee surgery?
Means bioabsorbable? What you
So
say?
I'm just thinking like that because I'm asking like, are there any research happening in that way?
So
Yeah.
heals. Okay, metal never heals. So only thing what they are doing for the last 35-40 years is, so we're trying to make some more anatomical. So by that, so the wear and tear will be less. If it's near normal, the wear and tear will be less, and the similar strains will be there on the joint. So by that they're trying to increase it. So the what we said is oxenium implant. The expected life is 30 years, but it's not proved. Almost the regular cobalt chrome molybdenum implants are almost they're proved for almost the longevity of the implant will be around 20 years. Okay, so only implant won't be the cause for the failure. There are many reasons. There may be infection, there may be loosening of the implant. Okay, so sometimes there may be fracture around the joint, which may need revision. Okay, so as of now in India, almost last 15 years they are doing we are doing the knee replacements. Because of wear and tear of the implant, the revision is very less. Because these are the studies from the Western population. They do all sorts of sports activities. In India, we use very carefully. Okay, we walk on them, or otherwise we walk on our hands. We'll take care of our joints. So wear and tear may not be a problem. So Dr. Ramna, if you would like to say something.
The various reasons, and implant form a very small part of it, probably attribute to 15-20%. Obviously technology is coming in, we are getting better materials, but self-healing is not there certainly. That's not happening.
Finally, is very complex. Till now, you have been in engineering side. If you see the biomechanics of the knee is very complex. The engineering side, they are trying to understand what are the biomechanics, what are the stress riser on the knee. The implants from 1965 to here, because earlier there was failure within 5 years. Now the failure rate is much more increased. If the patient is getting operated, less than 65 or even the 55, we can say, depending upon the activities, it can run up to 15 to 20 years. Usually these arthritis patients are, around the 60, 65. It should work for his lifetime. But at the end of the day, it's not the implant thing, it is a soft tissue procedure. You always think of the bearing surface. It's a soft tissue procedure. You got an alignment of 0 or 180 degrees right. If your balancing is not good, it's going to fail. So most important thing is not, we always think of the implant bearing surface, but the technical issues also are there. Okay, thank you.
So just like one more question, I was asked, like he had some issue from his early stages, like he has some problems with some metals. So as this implant is a foreign material, so will there be any allergies if he has to undergo surgery with the implants?
If he has prior to any drugs, that should be serve notice to the doctor, because it should be always confusing thing, because it's less than 1% where we found some allergy reaction, especially in the hip, where the metal surfaces have failed and some metal have came out from the hips. That is called metallosis. So it's more on the hip side rather than the knee side. The knee side, we very less. It has been abandoned from the market now. It has to produce a lot of metal reaction. That has been abandoned now.
One thing is, and for example, somebody with the metal allergy, for example, they use a watch, there will be a black mark on their this one. Most of them are allergic to nickel. So in the knee replacement, cobalt, chrome, molybdenum. So they're not, most of them they're not allergic, and hip we use the titanium most of the time, so which is also not allergic. In spite of that, if they undergo surgery, so they need to check with the cobalt, chrome, molybdenum or titanium allergy is there or not. And yes, in the trauma, most of the time we use the steel, in that nickel will be there. So in trauma case, if there is a fracture, we using the implant. In those patients, it's better to go with the titanium implants rather than regular steel implants. Will be better for them. Yes, they will have allergy and they will have redness all over the leg. So there won't be any infection. Most of the surgeons will be dreaded because is it infection or not? There won't be any pus, but the wound won't heals. If you remove the implant, it heals.
Definitely suffer with this lower back pain, especially some one or the other spine problems. Why is it so? And
Yes,
what can be done?
So that is hormonal imbalance.
Okay.
So during pregnancy, there is a hormonal changes will be there in the body. So because of the laxity of the ligaments around the spine and pelvis, they have pain in the pelvic region and also in the spine.
Okay.
And second thing, the mechanics. So because the spine is balanced by paraspinal muscles backside and abdominal muscles also. Both are important for the stabilization of the back. So in pregnancy, these muscles will be lax. Once patient delivers, so the abdominal muscles are not taut, so they are weak. So invariably the back goes posteriorly. So then there will be spasm of the muscles in the thigh. All those things may cause the strain on the back. They leads to back pain. And one more reason, most of the time they attribute is spinal anesthesia. So generally but not always, because in olden days they used to use the big needles. They used to have this backache. Nowadays we have very fine needles that may not be the actual reason, and these are the maybe reasons. And second thing is, if you do go for regular abdominal exercises and regular physios muscles and paraspinal muscles, and we have to adopt some postures, good postures, and lying down postures, sitting postures, all those things we have to adopt. Especially you have to carry the baby for a long time while feeding. So those postures, if you sit continuously, that may cause also backache. So you have to adopt good postures during feeding the baby. That is also most important.
So you, even though when we are suffering with pain, exercise is suggestible. Abdominal exercise.
Within your limits you can do that. And you can, if you are not tolerable, you can use some painkillers, which are safe painkillers.
But exercises like
that is mandatory.
treadmill, cycling are not suggestible.
You can do after surgery. You can do so, but the only thing is strenuous exercise we do to advise, but abdominal exercise, pelvic floor exercise regularly they do advise. Same principle. If the belly is more, the abdominal muscles will be stretched. Same, the center of gravity will fall in front of the patient. So instead, generally we tend to sway backwards, and there is a more strain on the back. Definitely it will affect.
So both are interrelated.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
What could be the reason for your back pain after C-section? What do you think in your normally?
First is weight.
Yeah.
And second might be sitting postures.
Okay. Is it two reasons, or just because of the C-section we'll get the back pain?
No, sir. Especially after 2 C-sections, I've been through severe pain.
Yeah, don't mind. Okay, so many of the males also undergoing surgery under spinal anesthesia, they don't get the back pain. Why females get the back pain?
Before C-section, I never went to any single day. I never had a pain.
Yeah.
So especially after 1 C-section also, I never went through pain.
Yeah.
But after
Okay.
2, it has come to a peak position. So that's why.
Yeah, sorry to say that. So there are two reasons for that. So one is, so when the baby is inside, you need 1 gram of calcium every day. And one more thing is, because of the baby in the abdomen, so you will be swayed like this. So the center of the gravity, instead of on the center of the vertebra, it will be in front of the vertebra. Okay, the muscles will be weak. So once after delivery, so you feed the baby. Baby needs more calcium, he'll get calcium from you. So you need 1.5 grams of calcium per day.
Okay.
And the muscles has to be strengthened. But most of the time your kid will be with the pediatrician, but you're not with the gynecologist. You don't use the calcium medication. So we need to strengthen the bones with calcium 1.5 grams per day and regular exercises. Not all spine problems you can't do exercises. Only few. If you have a disc, severe disc, which is pressing on the nerve, you can't do the exercise. Okay? This is because of the osteopenia and muscle strength is less. So you can do the exercise, you can do the cycling, you can do whatever you want. Okay? But the back mechanics are very important, how you sit.
Okay.
For example, if you stand straight, so if you are 50 kgs, there will be 25 kgs of the weight on your back. Okay, if you bend 25 into 5, so almost 125 kgs. If you sit and bend forward 25 into 7, okay, almost 175 kgs. So our body is made to do all the activities, but we do only few activities. Because of that, there will be more strain on the back. So you need to follow the back mechanics, 1. And second thing is exercises, 2. And third one is calcium supplementation and vitamin D supplementation. So these 3 are important to prevent the back pain.
Platform here. So I'd like to thank Shiva and the High9 TV group for this exposure. I think the most important thing right now is for people right now is to take care of the posture and have a regular exercise and a healthy diet. I think these 3 things once taken care, our food habits are getting bad, our exercise schedules are not following protocols, and most of the people sitting onto a very long jobs are damaging their back, neck and all these postures. So posture, exercise and diet I think have to be corrected a lot.
Today, regarding the keynote, is mainly every year there is an increase in casualties, deaths, more than 4%. So this High9 TV is good. At least if it brings a little bit of awareness to the people, the driving safety is what I mentioned. If they take care of themselves, there'll be some person waiting at home. And the High9 TV and especially Siva and the team, they're doing extremely well, getting much more closer to the patients. And I'll best of luck for the future endeavors. Thank you.
So most of them, the tip of the day will be, so good sleep, 7 to 8 hours of minimum sleep, and exercise, and taking good food, so nutritional food. And so for the bone strength, vitamin D supplementation is important for the Indians because of our skin contains more melanin. Because of that, we require almost 3 to 4 hours of day to exposure to the sun, which is not possible. So vitamin D supplementation is important. Recently, I think Jersey milk or some milk which are fortified with the vitamin D, but most of the cold countries, the bread and milk are fortified with the vitamin D. So we need to take vitamin D fortified food or vitamin D supplementation with good exercise is mandatory. Whatever you take without exercise is not going to much help, and good sleep and health. And thank you, and we wish all the best to High9 TV, Mr. Shiva and his all the partners. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity to spread awareness and prevent some misconceptions in the society. For almost most of the time I'll get this question, pregnant ladies will get back pain. How many times you tell they feel that because of the pregnancy? Okay, so these sort of problems can be solved through the awareness and awareness and awareness, not in a single time. Thank you very much.
So on the stage, I would like to request all of us to wear helmet to prevent road traffic accidents. So prevention is better than cure. So to prevent osteoporosis, take good diet and elevate the stress. Stress should not be there in life. That is most important for all the elements. And good exercises, even though it is not easy to say because we may also not follow regularly. So then, and regarding High9 TV, I really appreciate you I am happy that so many people are coming forward and asking questions. That is very important. That shows your invasion into the public. All the best for your future endeavors.
Thank you so much, Dr. Timareddy Garu, for your support. I next request Shiva Garu to hand over the token of appreciation to Dr. Neelam Garu. Thank you so much, Doctor. Of appreciation to Mr. Jalpati Garu, Dr. Jalpati Garu, sorry. And last but not the least, the keynote speaker, Dr. Uday Garu. Hi9 takes immense pleasure to thank everyone who has given their support and spent their valuable time with us. I would like also to thank the doctors, audience, visitor speakers, the organizing team, and all those who are behind the screen who have helped this event to be a great success. Thank you.